Well, the lighting is going to be changing. I guarantee that will happen. Just because I have my blinds open right now because we're at the end of what is a really pretty day here in Austin. And I usually don't pay the most attention to those kinds of things, but today is just exceptionally nice. And so I wanted to at least be able to look at it for part of the time while I talk to you guys.
Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Ty Rivera. That's right, it's Unbothered by Ty Rivera. I am your host, Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. In case anybody's wondering, my co-producers are currently in the room. Snoopy Bijou and DJ Lindy. Hung, 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 hung. DJ Lindy. He's looking at me like I'm crazy, but that's kind of the deal around here, is I just kind of do what I do, and the two dogs just look at me like, all right, what's he on today? Why is he doing another ridiculous thing with that thing in his hand, and he's got the light on, and believe me, there are questions around the house. The dogs aren't, people think dogs are stupid. These dogs are not. These dogs constantly judge me and wonder what the hell's going on. And welcome to my world, little dogs, because I wonder what's going on sometimes too. I will tell you guys, though, my life has been getting exponentially better as far as, and just to clarify for anybody, my life was pretty great to begin with. I can't say in the last couple of years there's been a real time that I haven't liked my life. It just is levels of liking it more and finding more what I think that's one of the good things that's coming to me with age. And I'm not one of those people that when I was younger, I always wanted to grow up. So I'm not one of those people that is not enjoying that I'm getting older or has a problem with that. I always talk about the fact that I don't tell my age, and I think I've explained that before, but if I haven't explained it on this podcast, one of the reasons that I don't like telling my specific age, unless it's absolutely necessary, and I don't care when people search it on the internet and are able to find it. I don't know. A lot of people said they haven't been able to find it, but it doesn't bother me when people do try to check things out about me. That's not a thing for me. Like somebody the other day said that they typed into DuckDuckGo what my age was, which DuckDuckGo is like the Google that doesn't filter things out as much. I'm not sure the exact specifics on DuckDuckGo. One time I downloaded it and then I was like, this isn't any better than Google. So I didn't continue using it as a search engine, but it's a search engine. And they said they had typed what is my age, and when they typed in my name, my age was one of the first things that popped up, like people wanting to know my age. And it's not like a secret like that. I just don't tell my age because I found that when you do tell your age, people start wanting to tell you everything that's supposed to come with your particular age, Like, for example, when people reach their 30s, people are always like, well, your metabolism's going to slow down and this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't necessarily have to be the way your specific body works. And I am very conscious of the fact that words create reality. And so when you ingest people's words, if you do, and sometimes it's hard not to, that will start to create your reality. There, you will start to think, well, maybe since they said that's what's supposed to happen, then this is what's going to happen. And maybe because of this, there's going to be that. And I just don't subscribe to any of that. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day on the phone where he was saying like, what about, and yes, I still have friends, but he was saying, what about like negative people that are always going to tell you what isn't possible, because I deal in the world of what is possible. Like nothing is possible if you talk to the average person. Getting out of your day job isn't possible. Having a YouTube that people watch isn't possible. Being successful in comedy isn't possible. Nothing is possible if you talk to the average person, and I am not the average person. That's first off. And the other thing is, I am a person that deals in what is possible. And when my friends tell me that they want to do something, I'm the first one to be like, yeah, that is completely possible. It's usually just a matter of logical steps. And sometimes there are several illogical steps that will come in. But as long as you go with your inner guide and actually commit to what it is you want to do, it's possible. There are very few things that I think are not possible, even when it comes to some of the things that people say isn't possible because of industry standards. Like there's that model, she's Japanese, and she's, I think, 70 something. I just saw her the other day on Instagram, and she's a 70 something year old Japanese woman, and she is a successful model. And to look at her, she's an older woman. She is pretty. It's not like she's not pretty, but everybody would say, modeling is for younger people. You have to be 20s or sometimes even before. And yeah, that is the industry standard, but there always are going to be outliers. And are you going to be an outlier? Are you going to put in the work that it's going to take? Because in a lot of cases, that's what it is a lot of work. Like right now, my YouTube is doing really well. But if you look at the numbers on different videos, certain videos are a bit of a lull. And if you go all the way back in my YouTube, you'll see there were times when I was getting maybe 500 views on a video. 200 views would be like a good average sometimes. And I just kept plugging away and kept making content. And then there were points where my life got busy and I wasn't able to concentrate on YouTube at all. And that would lead to me taking a little bit of a break. And when I look back on it, I see the things that I was doing wrong as far as what wouldn't hit the algorithm. But that's what I really felt like doing at that time. I didn't know that I was doing things wrong. It wasn't like, I was just doing things wrong because I was working a particular process or working a particular way. That's what the universe was doing for me, but I wasn't consciously doing that. That wasn't a decision that I had made. I was genuinely trying to make the best content that I could possibly make, talking about what I was interested in. And I ended up finding kind of the balance where it hits the algorithm the way that I need it to, and at the same time I am creatively satisfied, which was something that I've dealt with just recently, where there were certain videos that I did several months ago that I wasn't the most interested in, but at the same time, I knew that they would hit the algorithm the right way. And I meant everything I said on the videos. It wasn't like I was being disingenuous, but I just wasn't talking about the things that I was the most interested in at that time. I was talking about some things that I knew would continue to feed the algorithm. And so I think with time, if you really work on whatever it is, because for me, it's YouTube, content creation, that kind of stuff. But no matter who you are or what you're interested in, you can find your way to where you want to be. Also, when it comes to stand-up comedy, because I said I was quitting stand-up comedy and then I continue to still work at stand-up comedy, I guess more my thing was, and I said this at the time, but I don't think a lot of people took it in, was that I wanted to concentrate less on the parts of stand-up comedy that are not profitable. Because when you first start doing stand-up, you do a lot of open mics. And I've always kept that regular open mic mentality where it's like I can keep turning out new material and I can keep working on new stuff. But I kind of burnt out at a point where, because you got to remember, I've been doing this for 21 years. And I've been working as hard as I work at stand-up for 21 years. There were very few times that I took breaks in stand-up. And when I say very few times that I took breaks, my idea of doing stand-up is going up 7 nights a week, sometimes 3 to 5 nights, 3 to 5 shows a night. And that'll be a mix of paid shows and open mics, because even if I'm getting paid to be one place, I'll usually hit a couple open mics afterwards. And even here in Austin, it wasn't uncommon for me to do 5 sets in a night. And in some of those, I'm getting paid, so I'm doing material that I know works. And then in others, I'm just doing an open mic, so I know I can be as creatively free as I want and just play around a lot. And so I just realized at a point that that wasn't serving me now. And it was more me just doing it out of reflex and muscle memory that had me still working like that. And so I've stepped back from all of that stuff and I feel much better about it. Even when I had to do those 2 weekends that I performed when I was in Little Rock and then I was in, where was the other one? Little Rock and Phoenix. That's where I was. And those were great. And the shows were great. I wasn't rusty at all, which some people will be like, you get rusty if you don't get on stage. I was amazing every single show, which is also one of the benefits that I didn't know. Well, I've kind of seen that happen in my life before, but with all of the stuff that's happened with me and the clubs here, I feel like I have to be extra good every time I go up so that people know that, hey, he's actually worth what he is. Like, yeah, maybe he is very opinionated, and yeah, maybe he does sometimes say things that hit the less talented the wrong way. But when you actually see him perform, it's worth all the shit that he does. And that's really all I strive for in a lot of my life, because I am very opinionated, but I also look at things in a lot more technical way than a lot of people do when it comes to stand-up specifically. But, when it comes to regular life, I'm also just enjoying more going with whatever hits me the right way in the moment, and not so much procrastinating, because my former life where I was doing as much stand-up as I talk about really was making it so I, as a human being, wasn't always feeling the most fulfilled. Like I said, I wasn't sad about it. I wasn't going through depression. There was a point right before I basically burnt everything down here in Austin that I really did feel like that could lead to a more depressing life if I didn't somehow stop it. And I didn't know how I was going to stop it. The way that I arrived at all of this, in case you guys aren't fully informed about that, is it was a lot of meditation and manifestation. So I really was thinking about what I want. And I don't know if you guys at all are into the manifestation, and I'm not trying to get too deep on you guys about that kind of stuff because I know not everybody's into it, but the way that things work in a lot of cases is you're supposed to just decide what it is you want or figure out what it is you want and then let the universe decide the steps for you. And so you just kind of go along and you're actively working. It's not like you don't put in work, because believe me, I put in work to everything I do. Like, I put out a video the other day that was a 30-minute video, but it originally started off at over an hour and 40 minutes was what it started off at. And so that was just me editing. I did 2 nights of editing, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. But then at the end, I was like, I could have added this and I could have done that. And we could live in coulda, shoulda, woulda. But again, that's not a place that I'm going to live either. I put out the best stuff I can possibly put out. It's getting good views, and I really am happy with the way that it turned out. But my thinking now, when I reflect on, what could be done better, because I don't usually think of things in terms of right and wrong, because your idea of right could be different from my idea of right, or your idea of wrong could be different from my idea of wrong, or what I consider to be good views could be bad views for you, or what I consider to be bad views could be really good views for you. Like, that's something I've had people tell me about before when I've told them certain numbers where I'm just like, yeah, I put out this video and I wasn't too happy with the numbers on it. It only got this many views. And then they're like, I would kill to get that many views. 30 people are watching my stuff right now. And it's like, Yeah, that's part of the process and it's good. But so it makes me appreciate where I'm at a bit more when people tell me things like that. But my point in that part is like, I just I think more in terms of what I can do better, but it's not about lamenting what I didn't do as well this time. It's more about moving forward. Like, this is the way I would do that next time, or I would take more time in this particular part so that maybe I get a better result as far as me liking something visually. And like I said, I do put a lot of work and time into everything that I do. And that was 2 nights worth of real editing. Also, when it comes to me, I have to really feel things in order to do them at this point. And I've stopped procrastinating on things that would make me happy, because like I was saying, in my former life, and I know it was just a couple months ago, but a lot has changed in those couple of months. I think it's been 2 months now, or maybe a month and a half since I started everything, as far as kind of changing my life. But there was, like a lot of me not doing stuff that I really wanted to do. And so I started asking myself in the moment, well, why wouldn't you do that? Like, a good example is I've been wanting to watch the movie Furiosa, which is part of the Mad Max series. And I've loved Mad Max since I was a kid. I always liked the car. Speaking of cars, I love my car, which we'll talk about that in a second. But I love the cars in Mad Max, like the originals, like Mad Max and Thunderdome and the Road Warrior, all of those. I just always loved the visual from all of those things. And I had wanted to watch Furiosa. It came out a couple of weeks ago. And I remember that when I saw the previews for it, I was maybe watching Tim Dillon's movie at Thanksgiving. His movie was called Thanksgiving, or the movie he was in, I should say. And I had gone on a solo date for that. And then this time, I knew I was going to go on a solo date again, because I don't really like going to the movies with people, because then you have to worry about whether or not they're liking the movie. And then sometimes you go with people and they want to talk the whole time. And if I make time to watch a movie, I actually want to watch a movie. I don't mind a quick, like, what did she just say? Or what did he just say? Or I'm going to run to the bathroom and please tell me what happened when I come back. Like, to me, that's all very functional and cool stuff. I'm not like a real snob and like, shut up, I'm watching the movie. I mean, like, if you run to the bathroom and you come back and you'll be like, did anything happen? I'll tell you if something happened or if nothing happened. A lot of times, nothing happens still. But I had told myself when I was at the Tim Dillon movie that I wanted to watch that when the preview came on. I wanted to watch it as soon as it came out. So like I said, it came out a couple of weeks ago, and then one of my friends, Shay San Juan, had posted on her Instagram, like right when it came out, that she had gone to see it. And I was like, how was it? And she was like, good, exclamation point. And I was like, all right, I gotta see it. And so we get to now, which, like I said, is a couple weeks later. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I still haven't watched Furiosa. And that was yesterday that popped in my head. And I don't remember why it popped in my head. It just did. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go watch Furiosa. But what I didn't mention yet is that I had that pop in my head while I was swimming, because that's another thing I've been telling myself for weeks now, because the weather here in Austin has been perfect, and I really like the pool here at the place that I live, at my apartment building. There's a really nice pool here, and it's not too deep, and it's perfect for like walking around in it, or but I've only, before this, I had only went for a swim in it one time. And I've lived here going on 2 years now. So for the last couple of weeks, that's another thing I've been telling myself. I'm like, I'm going to go swimming. And then every day I either edit, or I go to the gym, or I record, a video, or I do all of it. Because some days I do all of it, and those are long days for me. But I don't mind those either. But there's just every excuse not to do what I actually wanted to do, was go swimming. So yesterday I had a quick talk with myself where I had been like, I want to go swimming. And it also looked a little bit like it was going to rain yesterday, which for me is perfect because it wasn't like a cold day, like that kind of rain. It's like summer rain, you know? And so, but I like that. And so I was thinking, you know, it looks and feels almost like it might end up raining. It wasn't completely, but my body, I love rain so much that I think my body's tuned itself in, because I can usually tell people when it's going to rain without looking at my phone or checking the weather. I'm usually like, yeah, it's probably going to rain today. I always tell the security guard here about that. Like, we talk and I'll be like, yep, looks like it's going to rain. And he'll be like, you think it's going to rain tonight? I'll be like, I think tomorrow. And then the next day, and I'll tell him, see, I told you it was going to rain. I think he kind of, you know, sets his watch by my predictions. I'm his weatherman. Ha ha, we're your weather girls. But yeah, so I told myself when I was thinking, because I was taking the dogs out to go potty, it was like our morning potty break, and I took them outside and I walked by the pool and I was like, I want to go swimming. And then again, because of the way my brain works and the way that I feel like I should be working all the time, even though I just put out a video and it was already getting good numbers, I was like, I should probably work today. And then I was like, but you keep saying you're going to go swimming and you haven't gone swimming. So when are you going to go swimming? And so then I told myself, you're right. I'm going to take these dogs up after we're done with potty break, and I'm going to put on my swimming trunks. I'm not going to call anybody. I'm not going to text anybody. I'm not going to open my computer. I'm just going to go swimming. I'm not going to go to the gym right now. I'll just go swimming. And so then I went to, that probably makes sense why Furiosa got triggered in my head, was because I was swimming and I probably thought, and I'm not saying that I remember this to be the way that it went down, but I do remember that there was a point where I did wonder while I was swimming. But what probably triggered it was my brain probably started scanning, what else have you been saying that you want to do that you haven't done? And so, like I said, I was just, Furiosa popped in my head. And I was like, you know, when I get out of this pool, I'm going to go ahead and check my phone and see when Furiosa is playing tonight, if it's even still playing in the movie theaters. And so, because, you know, I did want to see it in a movie theater. I can always watch stuff here at home, and I know that that's an option with most things. Most things, they start to stream them right away, or you can find them if you want to. But I really like watching certain things in the theater. I do enjoy going to movies sometimes, and especially, like I said, by myself. I'm fine with the solo date. I've been so many places by myself now. Sometimes people will think that that's a little bit weird or whatever. But it's like, if I don't do stuff by myself, when am I going to do it? Because I've been on the road for a lot of my, well, the last 20 years, a lot of it has been spent on the road. And when you're on the road, sometimes you'll be traveling with a friend or another comedian, but sometimes you're just by yourself. A lot of times I would just be by myself. So if I waited for people so that I could eat, if I waited for people so that I could go to the gym, if I, or maybe not the gym, that's not, well, there are people that go to gym with other people, and that makes no sense to me at all. I go once in a while. I used to go with Hooch sometimes, or let him meet me, or we'd meet each other at the gym. But for the most part, I go to the gym by myself. I do everything by myself, and I like it that way. I don't mind that, you know. But then there's also the part of me that is gearing up to move into my next phase of life, which I've been clear with you guys about already. Like, I eventually am going to find a partner and just settle down as far as that part of my life goes. Like, I do like the idea of being with somebody and not, because for me, like, I've already had as much sex as I want to have. And I don't try to make myself sound like particularly slutty or whatever. My life has been whatever it's been, and it's been fun. Like, I definitely have not been prudish about sex, or I haven't been like that person that hasn't had sex. But in my young years, because I was an escort, I really, Like I would have boyfriends and they would be like, it would be fully functional relationships. It was never like weird where I wouldn't have sex with the guys that I was with. I mean, like the guys that I was with, I was really with, and we had what could be considered healthy sex life. But when it came to that point in my life, when I would be single during those points, like for me, all that stuff was just a way to make money. There was not a connection with, like where I felt like sex in any way would enhance my life outside of profit. And I was a escort that didn't have to have a lot of actual sex. Like, and that's something maybe I'll talk about on a full episode, but like a short video, not a podcast, because it wouldn't be an hour's worth of me talking about it, I don't think. But who knows? When I get talking, I talk. But yeah, so like as far as after that, the way that my life was is, yeah, I've hooked up with enough people that I'm not worried about that now, where it's like the idea for me of being in an open relationship, for example, does not make sense. Because since I was young, very young, one of my goals was to find one person and just be with that person. But I think what happens when you're younger is you almost feel like anybody could work. And I don't mean just anybody, but like it's not that big of a deal. That's why I sometimes worry for people, and not too much because I don't care about people that much outside. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but just the decisions people make are not going to affect me. So I don't preoccupy myself with what other people are doing, and I don't live in a lot of judgment with like, oh, this person shouldn't have done that, or this. Do whatever you feel like you should do. If you got married at 16 and you're still happy with your husband that you married at 16, maybe you're a high school sweetheart situation, I'm happy for you. I'm not one of those people that would tell you, well, don't you feel like you missed out? Everybody has their own path, their own experience, and some people didn't need that. Because when I was younger, like I said, I really did have this idea and almost felt like I was supposed to wait for that to happen, or be expecting that to happen in a particular way. And then as you get older, you start to realize not everybody will work. And sometimes people are very, very cute and everything that you should want, but they're just not what it is that would make you happy long term. Like, yeah, it's great that everybody I know thinks my boyfriend is really cute. But if I'm not happy when I go home, then how great is it that he's that cute? Because that was one of the situations that I had just recently, where I avoided it, but I was talking to this guy, and by talking to him, I mean, like, we hooked up and we're hanging out every once in a while. And then it got to a point where in my head, because, like, you can only hook up with somebody so many times before you start to get bored. And the last thing that I want is any kind of boredom with a person that I'm not in some way actually connected to. Because we all know how relationships work. They grow, they change. If you're really with somebody long term, you probably will have that moment at the beginning in the honeymoon period where you're like bunny rabbits and you're constantly, constantly having relations. But then at some point, the relationship has to get more real and move to something else. And I felt like I had hooked up with this guy enough times that it should move somewhere else if it was going to continue. And I felt like he also would be open to me like shifting it like that. I felt like he just was a little bit more on the reserve side and apprehensive about maybe the way that I would react to that, because if you look at me, I look pretty wild. So I'm not the kind of guy that a lot of people are going to try to force a relationship on. In a lot of cases, people assume I'm wild enough that I'm fine to just be a fling for as long as it's a fling, and I'm more like that. But the way this guy was acting with me was very, I guess you could say, tender, and he would like kind of boyfriend me a little bit, like that's the way that he was behaving with me. And so I was cool with that in a way, but like I said, it just wasn't moving anywhere. And so again, I had a talk with myself, and I was like, I know, or you don't know until you actually do it. But I really felt like if I had just said, hey, this is where I want the relationship to move to, or I want us to actually do some boyfriend type things, or maybe start talking more frequently or whatever like that, that he would be responsive to that, and that's the way we would start moving. A couple of times he had mentioned that we should like go out sometime, and I was open to it at the time that he suggested it, but then neither of us actually made that happen because he's a busy person, I'm a busy person, which that's something that I accept in my life. I'm going to be busy as I have to be, and then these people are going to be busy too. And so, we just hadn't made that happen. So then like I said, I had a talk with myself, and I was like, okay, well, do you actually want to start to engage a bit more in this as a relationship and see where it goes from there? And physically, this guy would be everything that a lot of people would want. And physically, because that's how we met, was both liking each other physically, was how it started. I was into him that way. But from what I had gathered about his personality, and he has a great personality, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm not trying to turn it into that on any level. But I had just started to gather that he wasn't going to be the right type for me. Like, I wasn't into him any further than what we had already established and what we were already doing. But like I said, I had grown to the point where I wasn't really into him for that anymore either. So then you find yourself at a place where you're like, I know that if I wanted this to go a particular way, I could make it go a particular way, but do I want that to be the direction that this goes in? And the short answer for that was no, I didn't. So why would I ask this guy to take these steps to being more serious with me when I know that in the long run, I'm not going to be serious about being with him? And then there's the other side where people, because sometimes I know that people will judge me for the amount that I talk about the physical with people. But I think that for me to really be with somebody, and I've been with people kind of all over the spectrum, but and people don't have to be like where everybody else thinks they're attractive. I've dated some guys that were really only attractive to me. Like, I don't think that a lot of people would have really been into them, but I was really into them as far as the way that they, a lot of times with that, it will be their personality factoring into it quite a bit, but because I was so into their personality, that made it so I was very into the physical with them as well. But with this guy, it was kind of like an opposite situation where as far as the physical went, I was very into that. But then when it came to the personality, it just wasn't going to work for me. It just wasn't what I specifically am looking for. And I didn't want to make him try to make this effort to be with me when I knew that eventually I would just end up ending it anyway. And then there's the other part where people will sometimes try to tell you, well, maybe you need to completely take your attraction to somebody out of it. And I tried that when I was younger. I tried that a couple of times. And One of them would have been just, nice looking guy that was quite a bit older than me at the time, but he was not, and like I said, it's not like it's a particular type, but I just knew that I wasn't physically into him. And when I'm actually with somebody, if I'm with you and I don't want to kiss you the whole time, not saying that I will kiss you the whole time, but if I don't want to kiss you the whole time I'm with you, if I don't look at you and just think, I really like to plant a kiss on this motherfucker, then I probably won't last with you. And I definitely will not. And that was my deal with him, was he was really into me. And this was forever ago, like, honestly, before I started doing stand-up. So 25 years ago is when it would have been. And I just remember really liking him and how nice he was to me. And he really was very, very caring and perfect, and, like, perfect for somebody. As far as just a really great guy, and was willing to do absolutely anything for me. And, was financially secure and, a good job, all that stuff. But in the long run, I just wasn't able to be with him, and I had to break up with him. And we're still friends to this day. I don't talk to him all the time, but, we've had dinner within the last 2 years or whatever. And there's nothing there, like, I don't think on either side anymore. I know that he was open about being into me for a long time after we broke up, and he made that very clear. But I think at this point he's over that part. But, like, when I hang out with him, it's just a good friend vibe. Like, we're just true friends at this point. And so I can't go that route where they're like, well, take attraction completely out of it. It's like, no, because then what are we left with? Like, somebody that can do for me financially. I'm not looking for anybody to do for me financially. What else is there? Just companionship. I don't joke when I say this. I have 2 dogs for that. Like, Lindy and Bijou really do satisfy that part of me. And I'm not a person that at all is lying to myself and like, I could just be happy with my 2 dogs for the rest of my life. No, eventually I am going to have a partner, a husband is what I'm going to have. But what I'm saying is, for right now, when it comes to just plain companionship, and I don't mean right now, this moment, because Lindy is growling for no apparent reason at all. What, Lindy? What are you mad about? He's just looking at the window growling. And we live on the 2nd floor. So it's not even like he can see people walking by our window. There's cars that are driving by. And for some reason, Lindy has a problem with cars. Lindy, look at me. He refuses to look at me right now. Look at me. Okay, he looked at me. You're very cute. But yeah, so I don't lie to myself, and I'm not like, I can just be with my 2 dogs for the rest of my life. Nope, that's not. But, at the same time, it's one of those things where I know that I have a lot of work to do on myself. And I don't mean a lot of work to do on myself, but I have enough work to do just on what I need to work on, that if that progresses at a slower rate, like that part, the romantic part, the dating part progresses at a slower rate, I'm better with that than trying to rush somebody right now and also trying to just audition people, because that's what it turns into sometimes with people and dating. I've seen friends go through that, and that will make me kind of like, all right, well, you really do seem like you're trying to force this situation, and you're probably not going to get the best result when you try to force something into being, because you're trying to really what's the Air Supply song? Air Supply. I'm dating myself, but my sister used to listen to Air Supply. Making love out of nothing at all. Like, you're just trying to build this thing from no, like, oh, well, you have this factor, that factor, that factor. I guess we should get married or we should try to make this happen. I've had friends do that, and it looks like auditioning because they'll just take these guys. It's like basically a cattle call. They'll take these guys, or in some cases, girls. I had one male friend that was doing that. And then when he left everything alone and stopped trying to force it, that's when he just found his wife. And now he has a wife and a baby, and I'm very happy for him. He's one of my favorite people that I used to hang out with in LA. I won't mention his name here, mainly because I don't remember it. I'm not even joking. I can picture him right now, but I cannot remember his name. Maybe God doesn't want me to mention him on my podcast because it would reflect poorly for him in his current relationship with his wife, who he is very happy with. And I know she was not part of any kind of audition process, but it was like that, you know, because he does all right. I don't remember what exactly his job is or whatever, but he had a condo that he had bought in LA. So, you know, you have to be doing well to own anything in Los Angeles. And he was a relatively young guy, decent looking guy, you know, not a model or an actor, but a decent looking guy, and just a really good personality. Like, we used to hang out together quite a bit. And I still, when I talk to him online, I'll still shit on him a little bit just because that was always the relationship we had, was, you know, like me being silly with him and kind of ribbing him a little bit. And he would once in a while throw a quick jab my way, but we were good friends. And I remember one girl, though, that he was with, that I told him, yeah, you tell that bitch to fuck off right away, because what she didn't like about him was his laugh. And she told him that one time while he was enjoying life and laughing, obviously. And she told him that he had an annoying laugh and that he should work on that. And that's when I told him, yeah, you tell her to fuck off. Like, get rid of that person, because that is not, you know, like, that's one thing about me when it comes to people and their laugh. That is a person expressing joy. That is the most happy you usually get, is when you're laughing. It's reflexive, you know. A lot of times you don't even want to laugh. You just start laughing because something really is funny to you or makes you that happy that you laugh. And I remember his laugh. It wasn't, yeah, it's loud and it's very much there, but it's not, you know, there's nothing wrong with this guy as far as that goes. And so when he told me that about that girl, that was the advice I gave him. And he dropped her almost immediately after, not just because of what I said, but also because he knew what I was saying was true. It's like, yeah, you don't ever be with anybody that truly wants to take your joy away. And that's what laughter is. So if a person has a problem with you in your happiest state, that's not a person that you should be with. I don't care what they look like or what else lines up with them. And I don't think a lot of people would imagine me to be the kind of friend that I am, but it's also the reason that I don't have a lot of friends, because I know that when I have an actual friend, I will give a lot to them. And I don't mean that in a monetary way, even though, you know, I will buy dinner for my friends, or if when I was drinking, I would drink with my friends and buy some drinks and that kind of stuff, you know. But I don't mean like that. But I do mean when it comes to emotionally, or just listening to them, or telling them, you know, in the most sincere way what I think's good for them if they want my advice on a particular subject, or just kind of being a cheerleader. You know, it's just really, I am that friend. Like, if you tell me that you're trying to do something, I will, you know, encourage you. And if you ask for my advice on how to get something done, I will really look at your problem or the situation that you're trying to figure out and kind of try to help you navigate that, because I feel like that's what good friends do. Like, I never feel like I'm in competition with any of my friends, even if they do stand up as well. I never feel like, oh, well, you know, they do stand up and I do stand up, so what if they get too good? Or what if, it's like, you know what happens when that really does play out like that is that they can usually help you out with opportunities. Or if you're the one that takes off, you can help them with opportunities. Because my career, as far as stand-up has gone, has really been, where and I've always been good at stand-up. There wasn't a point where I wasn't good at stand-up. In the beginning, I was figuring out how to navigate it and how to really be consistent. But for the last, at least 18 or 19 years, because those first 2 years you're figuring it out, but I was naturally inclined towards stand-up. So a lot of the stuff that people say they had problems with in stand-up, I didn't have problems with. I was good from the beginning. But like, I've been on a lot of ups in this career where my friends haven't been doing as well as I have in a lot of cases, or didn't know the people that I knew just because I have a good personality. So people will try to convince you otherwise sometimes. Like, I know that there's hate channels that are dedicated to me on YouTube. I don't have any followers though, just because all anybody has to do is come to, like, they lose support because here's the thing. Every once in a while, somebody will try to start a hate campaign towards me. And that'll be Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, it doesn't matter, but people will try to start a hate campaign towards me. And then what'll happen is the people that are the minions of the hater will come over and watch a fair amount of my stuff because they're looking for things to hate on and criticize. And for the most part, those people will usually end up being won over by my personality. Like, you'll see it in my comments sometimes where people will be like, yeah, I started off wanting to hate you, but then I started watching your stuff and now I actually think you're really funny. And that's very common. So I don't really worry about that anymore. When people first started doing it, because I wasn't used to that, because, you have to achieve some level of people knowing you before they start hate channels. And I'm not trying to act like I'm famous. We all know where I'm at. I feel like that with my botherinas, is we all do know where I'm at. So I'm not trying to act like I'm the most famous guy in the world or whatever. But you do have to be known to a certain degree for people to start creating hate channels and stuff like that about you. And so I wasn't used to that in the beginning because it had never happened before. And I used to think it was a bad thing. And I would just be like, yeah, I hate that they make these videos on me and they lie about me and they say these things. And don't get me wrong. If anybody ever says anything that's truly slanderous, anything that's truly legally actionable, I will definitely sue that person. I'm not trying to act like I don't care what people say. If people start saying things about me that are not true and could actually hurt what it is I'm trying to do, I will definitely take action on that. But when people just say, things about my personality, there was one person that made this entire channel about me, and he really went on an actual campaign about how much he hated me. And then, I finally ended up having to watch some of his stuff because I was told that there was something on there that was legally actionable. And I checked out his stuff, and it was just one of those situations where it's like, not only is this guy, like, not telling the truth about me, but he's not even good at being able to discern what kind of person I am. And he's been making this hate content on me for the last couple of years. And I really, at that point, felt bad for him because I was like, this person is a true buffoon. Like, he's been studying a subject, me being that subject, for at least 2 years now. And he hasn't even figured out the most basic parts of me. And the truth about me is I don't mind watching what people say about me if it just pops up. If there's a reason. Like I said, when I had to watch it, I didn't watch his stuff in any way because I think when you get your feelings truly hurt by the content itself, it's because what they're saying about you is true. But when I watch things and I see that everything that they're saying about me is inaccurate. And again, this is all personality stuff because, people judging your personality is not legally actionable. I know that a lot of people online would like that to be a thing, but that is not legally actionable. Somebody saying, oh, this guy is just a hateful guy, or this guy is just a negative person, or, that kind of stuff. That's opinion, and people are welcome to have that opinion. But there will be things that people will say about me that just, if you know me at all, they're just not true. Like at one point, well, let's not get into the specifics, only because I don't like. That's the other thing, is there have been more than one of these situations. Like I said, there have been kind of a lot at this point, and some of them have completely fallen off, and some of them continue to keep tabs on me a little bit. Like that's something that's a little bit weird. There was one person that was trying to give out the floor plan of my apartment to his followers, which I feel like was a little bit of a safety issue, because that's when I was living at another place, and yeah, they were going through like the floor plan. But again, true idiot, because they were right about floor plans in my building, but I lived in a different floor plan than the one that they were showing online, because they were going through my apartment as far as what the floor plan is and the layout, which I admit is kind of weird. Well, not kind of weird. It's pretty weird. But then I don't mind saying this because I don't live at that place anymore. This was one of the places that I lived in another city. And what the deal was there was this section in the middle of the apartment building that was townhouse style and completely different from the other layouts of the different apartments. And I lived in one of those. So it's like this idiot was showing everybody my floor plan, and it wasn't even my floor plan. So it's like, you just got to accept that, people are going to have opinions about you when you're even a somewhat public person. And I've accepted that that's just something that's going to happen in my life. And as long as it's not legally actionable, I'm not going to make that my concern. But what I was trying to get at is, when it comes to me as a friend, I don't want to hang out with anybody that I can't encourage or feel like a cheerleader of. And I don't want to hang out with anybody that feels like they're in any kind of competition with me, because we aren't in competition. What ideally happens is one of us makes it over the wall and the other one helps pull the other one over. And if they're both doing their jobs as far as putting in the work in this industry, as far as stand-up comedy goes, or in the, in the section of, or in the space of content creation, or whatever it may be, then, there's like, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you're worthy of the opportunity that your friend's going to provide you. Like when Tim Dillon would have me on his podcast every once in a while. He had me on the Patreon episodes, like two Patreon episodes is what I did with Tim Dillon. And both of them I gained a fair amount of followers from. Excuse me. Because I was already making content, and Tim was, cool enough to have me on its platform and expose me to his people. And so that ended up being really beneficial each time it's been done. Almost anybody that's ever taken me on the road in any way has, I'm not talking about me taking people on the road, because that's a perfect example, is how I bring people along that I know are going to do well, and then hopefully they impress the booker, and then they get more work from it. Well, I've been that for a lot of people, where they brought me, or not a lot, a couple of people where they brought me along, and then I've created my own opportunity for that. And only not a lot, because a lot of people don't want to follow me, and I don't blame them for that, because I'm not easy to follow when it comes to stand-up, especially with me doing 30 minutes in the most perfect spot on the show, which the feature spot will always be the most perfect spot on the show. I headline, and I know that the feature spot is the most perfect spot on the show. Sometimes a guest spot can be a really great spot, which is technically kind of before the show started, but you can really rip those spots up and then, create work for yourself. And so, yeah, I don't like that, the competition part. But you know, it's like life right now is really good for me, but it's just a matter of continuing to make things grow and make things better. Like the Patreon is something that I need to push a lot more. So if you guys have made it this far, check out the Patreon down below. There's memberships that start for like $5, and then anything after that is just if you want to support me. But the Patreon is something that I really need to start building a lot more. And, you know, I can always work on creating better content, getting more views, that kind of stuff. But that will all organically happen. So I'm not really too worried about that. If you guys aren't already watching my shorter videos, check them out. They are good. Excuse me. I'm getting better at being like, you know, funnier during those, because like it's a lot of work, because you got to do informational, and then you got to do the, you know, like the entertaining part as well. And there's a bunch of commentary channels, which is technically what my channel would fall under, would be a commentary or reaction channel. And there's a lot of those that will just straightforward give you the information, you know. But I'm one of the ones that really wants to concentrate on being funny with that. So you get the information, and then you get me joking and being silly, which gives me a lot of leeway to have a lot of fun on my channel. But it's, you know, it's all work is what it is. But I don't mind doing that kind of work. It's what it is, and I'm not at all regretting the way things are right now. I am regretting getting this small dog named Lyndon right now that's, again, growling at the window for no reason. I should have closed these blinds, because he's going through it over there. What are you mad about, Lindy? Come here. Let me see you. Come here. What are you mad about? Come here. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here. Say hi to the people. We're almost done here anyway, so you guys can meet the boy. Give me a kiss. Thank you. But yeah, this is little Lindy Pants. And so, or I should say, sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I know you're at work right now. This is DJ Lindy. I do love DJ Lindy. But, yeah, so overall things are great here in Rivera land, but, you know, there's a lot for me to work on. And what I was trying to say is there is some stuff for me to work on as far as preparing myself to be the husband that I need to be for my eventual partner. But I'm not in any hurry to make that happen. And I'm not just trying to pick anything out and be like, oh, well, now I'm with somebody and now I'm a whole person. I don't buy into that either when it comes to, I think there are certain people that you're fated to meet, and I think your eventual partner will be the person, will be that, you know, I do believe in that. But I'm not a person who believes you just have to try to make anybody be your person, because it doesn't always work. But I do feel like there's some work to be done on my end so I can be the partner that I need to be for the person that I eventually end up with. And I hope you guys are having a lovely, lovely, lovely week. We will continue doing these on Wednesdays at 5:35 p.m. Wednesdays 5:35 p.m. and I'll continue to do the live chat during them, so I premiere them and then we can talk as I'm doing it. I do like that part of it when people, you know, when we're doing the live chat and people are asking questions or saying silly things, like I enjoy that. But again, when people start, because sometimes every once in a while somebody will try to just talk shit on those, and there is such a simple block feature on YouTube that I don't think these people understand how quick I'll be to just block you. I'm not going to have you in what's supposed to be a fun situation for me and my actual viewers, my subscribers, who I like. a lot of you, I only know your screen names, but I really do consider you friends. I feel like when I see your screen name pop up, I'm like, hey, that's my friend that went to see Kylie Minogue, or that's my friend that went to do this, or that's my friend that told me that they watched this particular thing. Like, I think of things like that. So it is like seeing friends. So I wouldn't just have, like, you got to think of it like a party, you know, or like any other gathering. If I were having a party at my house and you showed up talking shit, I would definitely kick you out of my house. That's what would happen. It would not be a like, well, let's see if we can figure this out, or that's just their personality. No, that personality needs to go. I'm not just open for anybody. This isn't always the public situation that you would think it is. Sometimes it really is. I'm allowing certain people to be around because they're quietly hate watching. But if you get obnoxious about it, you gotta go. Speaking of gotta go, I gotta go to the gym. Everybody say bye to DJ Lindy. Lindy, you're gonna say bye? I guess that's close enough. Bye, everybody. Stay unbothered.